I ask a question? Is it all going all right? For the last 1 hour or plus 1 hour, I've been on the stage. I don't know how it is going. Is it? Yeah? Yeah? You're liking it? Any other points, any suggestions how we should drive it? This house is a little, very quiet. Yeah, very quiet. You must do something.
So when sir is asking, we want some energy from the wonderful people who are sitting here. If you respond, that is like, we are interacting with you. So
Empty
let us
stomachs,
feel that.
Right. Cool. So yeah, we'll quickly jump into the next very interesting discussion we had with Phani couple of times. So digital transformation and automation for future-ready biopharma. The last panel gave us a little bit of a tempered view about what's coming, and this we are actually going into the digital transformation side. So I'd like to kind of start with the opening views about what are your thoughts on the digitalization part in the Indian pharma industry. From the interactions that I had from some of my people I know, it's mixed. Some companies are really going seriously into investments. Some are really taking a very cautious approach. Even the budgets are not getting passed, even for simple things. You will have a good idea about it, Sai. Why don't we start with you?
So good evening, everyone. And first of all, thank you very much for having me here. Thanks to Sanjay and the Danaher team and Vikas. In fact, for Danaher, we have been partnering for many years now, kind of many decades. And some of those logos, we have actually won a lot of innovation awards jointly along with Danaher Corp. So coming to the question on digitalization, I think, I will leave the R&D and the core drug discovery a little bit because that is very core on certain aspects. But if you get into the manufacturing side, into actually looking at what people are trying to do around the digitalization, there's a lot of things on digital twins and AI that is coming in. And to a large extent, generative AI has leveled the field to a large extent. Or if you want to ask questions, I don't need to run behind many experts. It gives me some base platform. I get to understand many things which probably was not available to me freely, right? Now, many companies that we have seen, in fact, I've been talking to one of the pharma companies in the US, and then I said, you know what, all this data that you have, how do you kind of give it to an open source, give it to OpenAI, things like that. He said, I have nothing. I've pushed all the data to OpenAI. Now the question remains is, does OpenAI have all the knowledge that this pharma has, or they only released partial to us? I don't know, right? So I cannot tell you right now. Mm-hmm. But if I were to take any things, for example, if I just take my medical report or a test report, I can just upload it and it'll actually tell me what is going wrong. So there's a lot of information out there in the base model. The second aspect on top of that would be to kind of build on all these digital twins, right? So AI will give you certain aspects, but then how do you take action? Right. And that action part, which we're talking today in many places, is on the physical AI. And the physical AI is going to be a big thing, how to make things touchless. Lights out factory, touchless. There's a lot of debate, a lot of discussions. I probably, maybe in the next round, I'll let the other panelists talk about, but I think in this area is to, a lot of things on smart factories, being lights out, reducing the human effort. Or if not anything, just we are able to take a generative AI model and watch an operator. And the minute he's not adhering to certain SOPs, it's actually triggering flags. Those are simple, straightforward stuff available today, right? I don't have to do too much of automation there. So there's things like that which are going to drive. And if we don't get invested in these things, you might get left out. And that's where I think we should be, trying to compete, right? So if you want to compete with China or the other markets, you have to actually, push the game of using base technology in this space. Of course, I will leave the last part on clinical trials. Again, that also, in fact, TCS, we have a platform called ADD, which does AI, based clinical trials. That will be another place where, AI can really be pushed.
Phani, your turn. So how do you see this transformation? You've been leading this charge for Dr. Reddy's for a few years.
Yeah, I think Prasad made my job a little easier when he came in. But he captured in that one sentence how we see it, digital as a force multiplier.
Yes.
And pretty much digital in pharma and Indian pharma particularly has always been these three phases as we've seen it: digital for compliance, to digital for productivity, to digital for competitive advantage. I think many of the companies, depending on the life cycle that they are either in the compliance journey or in the productivity journey. And even within our own organization, we probably are having certain business units or certain set of businesses which are probably pushing between 2 and 3. We are largely covered on one and probably have more or less completed the journey, even if we just nips and tucks here and there. But otherwise, that's how I see the journey. And as we enter, and as a company, because we have our biosimilar portfolio, one of the first companies to launch a biosimilar in India and so on. So our biosimilar portfolio is an interesting one, but also the CDMO part, which is our origin business, and so on. So depending on the nature of the business, we have digital pretty much integral to how we operate, all across our labs, all in our manufacturing units. And I also like the previous panel which talked about how CRDMO business can be the leading light to actually take the innovation leap, and how we actually leverage some of these AI-led tools. I'm a little bit more optimistic than the panel, and probably part of my job. But I'm obviously a lot more optimistic. And my personal belief is digital is a significant force multiplier for how we run our internal operations, but also how we deliver to our patients. And I think it's a miss if companies are holding back on it, and if they are not treating it as an integral part of investment and not as a spend.
Yes.
That's where I stand on that.
That's an exception. I think it's not like very easy, as I had also seen. Krishna, your take. We discussed automation, but I think you had expressed some of your thoughts on that. Yeah.
Right. So what I would say is, the digital transformation or digitization is no more a, let's say, the question whether to be done or not to be done. It's the question of where are we now. I think given the organizations, the way the process what they are in, or the way when they have started, they might be in different stages. Some company might have been already very advanced, and some companies may be in very early stages. So the question, or the main, what you say, the criteria for IT heads, like, if some people are here, is how do we get the starting point of it, or where to start, or how do we get the ROI from the initial investments, whatever is going to make. I think we are in that dilemma now. I think we are at that stage now. But off late, maybe not off late, I would say maybe 4 or 5 years onwards, compliance is driving. The regulatory bodies are driving. I think in the previous panel we did talk about QMS, LIMS, DMS and all. So those are the digital platforms what every company has already invested, or they're already in the process of investing. Now the next step is about what do we do with that data. There's a huge tons of data what is coming out. One is with respect to quality, second is with respect to manufacturing. I think he was also talking about that. So these two platforms, how do we convert that data to a meaningful insight, is something which all of us should be looking at.
Sure. I'll be more specific about you, ma'am. On the R&D side, it's a very clear goal now for companies globally, at least, on test fast and fail fast. The sooner you actually get rid of bad compounds or bad research, it's better. It saves you this thing. Is that something that is very clearly followed in your organization? Because Sun has definitely, despite all the comments that we have heard about the shift from generics to specialty, and now Sun Pharma calls its specialty products as innovation medicine group. Is that something that has been driving your transformation?
Yeah, definitely it is driving the transformation. And as I will also say a few points before I arrive to the point you have raised. See, digitalization is not an option currently. So we are in different stages of digitalization. But however, getting an optimum output of that, I think all the companies are struggling. We might have the best of LIMS, best of MES systems, but what to do with that data, and whether the desired output, we intended something, we set a goalpost that this is what we are going to arrive from that. But are we really there, even after doing a lot of efforts and all? So that is one thing where even after doing the investments, the companies are also struggling that whether I am actually able to harness the benefit which I envisaged. So that is there. And now with the now the technology is also very fast paced. So the companies are already struggling with stabilizing the base data capture systems currently. And here we are talking about data and analytics, which we are doing, but then we have also done a kind of a leapfrog where we are trying to talk about AI and ML, and we are saying that why can't we use AI ML? So first is that, is the company at a right stage to use that AI ML? That is one thing. And what are the areas where I can use AI ML with the maturity of AI ML, which is currently there at present? So that is something I think we should not blindly run towards it. And as you raise that, if it is failing, whether we are abandoning it fast so that we start something new, definitely that is where I think there are a lot of automation we are also targeting, wherein we can identify the failures early, and we can actually, so that we can set the pace of the innovation in a different direction.
And the way Sun Pharma manages its research is again something that is exemplary, in terms of really identifying where to go, at what stage a product needs to be licensed, and probably getting a little view about how the commercialization will happen. So the success rates have been extremely good as compared to the other companies. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. So and I would also say, as sticking to the topic, that leveraging data to arrive to inform decision making, and that too at an early stage, I think is the competitive difference which they are trying to create.
Absolutely.
And to some extent they are successful as well.
Sure. Right. CP, you have a global view about digital transformation. What's happening across the world? Where do we really need to kind of match the the rest of the world so that we get the best impact?
Thank you for inviting me on this panel. So, hi, my name is Junping. You can just call me CP for short. So I manage the gene data operations in the Asia Pacific region. So when we talk to customers, actually, one of the very key things that we notice that is common across all the customers is that digitalization is no longer something that, do I actually want to do it or not? It's a must. And it actually confers a lot of competitive advantage to the company itself. I mean, the simple things, the easy day-to-day things, like being able to share data across the organization easily, breaking down of silo, being able to share data across their global sites. These are some of the key things that our customers are looking at. And I think fundamentally also one of the very key value of digitalization is about productivity. This is the thing that we have been talking quite a lot in this panel, and also in the previous panel and during the fireside chat. I actually have a story to share. Yeah, perhaps maybe even an embarrassing one. Okay, now I have all your attention. Yeah, you guys really like an embarrassing story, don't you, for the evening? Okay, so it's about productive. Huh? Sorry. Thank you. Thank you for the feedback. So, okay, true story. About 2 years ago, I was tasked to walk the ground, right, to visit customers, to understand the science, understand what the customer is doing, whether they're happy with our product, and so on and so forth. So I did my homework. I studied a bit about the customer. I saw the kind of instruments that they have. I saw the kind of data throughput that they're looking at. So I thought to myself, okay, I'm visiting a small, medium R&D facility. 50, 60 people. Okay. So I went there. It's a Korean company, by the way. I went there and I went to the lab. They greeted me. 5 people greeted me. So I went into the meeting room and 5 people sat there. And then I asked a very naive question. I asked them, where are the rest of the people in this lab? They said, no, this is all of us. There's only 5 people in this lab. I got a shock. Yeah, 5 people in this lab. So long story short, these 5 people are basically producing the amount of productivity that is at least 10x. So 10 times the amount of productivity that we typically see in a lot of other kinds of customer. So just imagine how much productivity that you can get in your lab, once you start your digitalization journey, or being able to bear fruits of labor for whatever you have just done. It's not so much about software fixing things here and there. It's more like maximizing the potential of the talents that you have in your laboratory.
Just another story, just a quick anecdote of a conversation I had with the Eli Lilly Global Digital Transformation Head, Diego Rao. He mentioned to me that companies which are actually not thinking about going in a digital way probably will cease to exist by 2050. That was a very sweeping statement, but yes, I mean, that also braces up for the challenge that is ahead of us. Now, we heard about this mismatch between what actually can be a measurable impact versus the ROIs that we see, as a kind of a obstacle or an impediment in Indian companies. So how do we make that change? Because once we see the measurable impact of those changes, companies will probably be able to see the good of it. You want to start from there?
Yeah, so that's a great question, because actually sometimes when we try to take this AI hammer and then smash everything, it actually gives you diminishing returns. And I'm very specific about generative AI. So basically, some of these things that it shows you a very high potential in the beginning, but eventually when you start putting real world things into it, it fails. So then the question is, should I be investing on that, or should I be investing in other things that this tool can do much better? For example, creating your regulatory submissions, your analyzing the data, getting you insights. So there's those places it actually does very well. So you need to know where to use that whole AI, otherwise the whole ROI starts becoming very strange. That is one part. The second, of course, is more on the talent. And I think this is where, I think in previous discussion also I was kind of following through. We have a huge challenge in terms of people who have really high experience on the domain, who don't understand this technology. And there are new guys who come in and they understand the technology very fast, but they are not enabled with this domain knowledge. Right? So then the question of crisscrossing them, right? So how do I make this newbie enabled with a good model or a good information, good set of information, which is documented, which is available? So those are places that you have to invest in, at least making those. May not be a small language model, but at least in terms of having digitalized information that can be fed into, even it could be an RAG or whatever, so that the young guy can actually start using it. But for that, you need the older person to actually document certain things, and the older person to actually, who is experienced, who knows the domain, to actually make sure that they are also enabled with this technology so they can start leveraging it. So that otherwise it actually gives, it puts you into the paradox of, should I be using this technology or not? Lastly is on the whole thing, I kind of touched upon digital twins. But digital twins, to understand behaviors of certain things with whatever equipment you have and the sensors that you have, it may not be enough. So you need to substitute that with certain physics models. In fact, I was talking to Phani earlier. So we have a lab set up at IIT Delhi. So we are trying to do a continuous biopharma process.
Okay.
We have actually done unit operations like bioreactors. There is a acoustic wave separators, ultrafiltration, chromatography. We have unit operations for those, but to make it run together, we are still in the process. But it's in research. But definitely these are things that you can invest in, and eventually we feel that it will generate that ROI. In fact, if you're interested, you can actually join. There's a course on the December 10th to 12th, and if you can quote me, you can get a 10% discount as well. You can send something.
Right. Phani,
Yeah, maybe again I have a slightly different take. The way we I think we ask too many questions on the digital investments, and my point is very simple. You spend around 1 to 2%. If you're a great company, you're spending around 2% on tech, but you spend like 8% on R&D, 22% on marketing, roughly, right, and around 40% on COGS.
Right.
did you ever check and ask, what does the 22% sales and marketing money give you back in return?
Right.
Right? And
That has not
you're talking to me about the 1.5%. So we'll negotiate. We'll negotiate.
You need to
whether
be close to your CFO.
So yeah, so that I am. I love my CFO. MEN is a lovely person. So, but I think the more jokes apart, I think one is the understanding of whether this 1% is worth the investment or not is probably the wrong question to ask. It does matter depending on the size of the company. It depends on where you are in the journey. But one, I think compliance is non-negotiable now. So I think let's not, if the company is discussing whether we should have a QMS system or a LIMS system, you're actually asking the wrong question. You're absolutely in the wrong room, in my view. I think that all of us should agree. The question to ask is this productive? Is this transformative? Is this competitively differentiating? And that is actually the most important question to ask. And at least the two suggestions, or at least the ways that I am trying to work with my colleagues on MC is one, bringing the awareness to this. They all are lovely science people. They are lovely commercial people. But do they understand the power of technology? And it's my job to make sure that they understand what this beast is about. That's number one. Number two, just like any other investment in the company, it has to show ROI. So I have a responsibility to show them that there is value in this. And that can happen when you co-create things with them. So when you take them there, show how it works, and they see the transformation for themselves in some of these areas, then that is where the belief system comes in. So I've been in Dr. Reddy's for almost 11 years now, and I have seen that shift happen right in front of me, where people who would speak science, you go into our R&D labs now. Just in the review that we had in the afternoon with our CEO, we had a 3-hour conversation on how digital will rethink how experimentation is done. Do you want to do in silico or before you do in vitro, or in vivo and things like that, right? So I think we have to take the experiences from what Diogo is saying or Greg Mayers is saying from BMS. There is a certain amount of thinking that there is value in this. No business puts money of a few $100 million just without thinking, however big they are. I think there is a certain amount of value. It is our job to articulate it for our businesses and show the value to our CFOs. I think that's where I see the value coming.
So all our companies are in different stages of their evolution. Dr. Reddy's has actually reached quite a big size. Sun Pharma is $52 billion market cap. In companies like yours, I wanted to know exactly what's the management thinking like. I'll tell you from my own conversation. There is something called OCR, optical character recognition. So that the deviations can actually come down. The budget was not passed. It was very simple. They wanted some model to be followed, and it's on hold. So, just your take.
Yeah, so you are right. I think you are actually picking up that right one. So, for the companies which are maybe at the early stage of digital adoption, so digital transformation, let's call it. So you have all the base systems. So I think like what Phani rightly said, there is no question on do you need to have those systems or not. That's out of let's say boundaries now. So you have the systems. Then the next comes is digital transformation. How will you use the data, or how will you bring in automation? So the one way, not only in our company, based on my experience earlier, depending on, there's no one formula definitely for which works for all. So depending on the size of the company, the size of the management, the way what they are. But the way what proven one, what I worked on earlier was to start small, show the results, then ask for the bigger ROI, because obviously it doesn't, the moment you are talking about 1% of the revenue, maybe for the size of RTR, it might be different. For a company which is like in the very early stages of this thing, the question asked is, rather putting 1% here, I might as well build my plant equivalent to be more production. So that's the question what we face from CEOs or CFOs. So the automation part of it, so let us accept the fact that the industry where we are in is a very highly document incentive, right? We have tons of documents starting from filing onwards till kappas, deviations, whatever you name it. There's a tons of documentation. Maybe a small automation which will pick the right data from those when it is needed from a compliance angle will be a better one to sell, because obviously compliance is something which everyone will be looking at. If you are able to extract the data out of it using those, let's say OCRs, or even not even OCRs, if you have a proper QMS system, it will be very easy to pick up what has been the standard deviations what you have been following. So that might be the approach what might work out depending on whatever I saw.
Sure. Your thoughts, ma'am?
See, I think, we have actually, my opinion that, we have surpassed that
Stage of,
time,
yeah.
that stage. And there are certain investments there are certain investment in the IT systems which are strategic in nature, which will not give you a immediate ROI,
Right.
but it is the base and the foundation of it. Like just for an example, when I'm saying that, implementing AI ML is like creating a data lake is an option. It is not an option. When I have a disparate system, so many disparate systems, how will I make the systems talk, or how will I play with that data? So if we really see that what is the immediate ROI of a data lake creation, it will not be able to calculate just immediately, but definitely over the time when other layers are built on top of it. So that is where I think the management has to understand that what are our strategic in nature, and has to be treated in a separate way, irrespective of, like Office 365. It is a strategic investment.
yeah.
It's a must investment which we have to do. So that is the way I see it, that we have surpassed. And I think currently the struggle with getting the investment, I think, is not at that level where certain things, which are basic things we are asking. They are saying that what is the reduction in cycle time which you are able to show, and what is the faster time to market, how you can have KPIs which can actually relate to that. So it is also a challenge for we in IT actually to also understand the business to that level. And when we also propose systems, we also bring we touch all the corners and bring it together.
Right.
So that is where I think,
Are you using AI and ML in your research?
Yes, we are using in certain areas, and we are also into creating the foundation, which I was talking about, data lake and all. And we have this advantage at this point of time because we have started just recent back, so that we create the foundation well, and then build things on top of it. Because when in the past we went into digitalization, we just piecemeal systems were there, right? Currently, we have all those legacy systems, decentralized systems. Now we are struggling with master data management of those. So all of those problems, when we have an opportunity, we should do it right. So maybe we may be late by few months or a year or so, but do it right. So
Right.
that is where. So definitely we are investing into it.
Right. Funny, a question to you on cloud adoption, and for pharma sector, data is the key. Is there a clear rule to be followed? Are the managements easy on this, or they are very, very tough?
No, I think we have, again, this has been a journey. So we are now in a 70-75% on cloud kind of setup right now. We still hold a few things on-prem, but it is not as much about security as it used to be in the past, but as it is about latency and proximity to the business. That's a very there are very technical reasons why you would keep some things on-prem versus what you put on the cloud. We have, in fact, our manufacturing and quality data lakes sit on the cloud. Most of our systems are hosted on the cloud, except for manufacturing and the laboratory systems. We kind of keep them closer and on-prem because of proximity and latency and other reasons, right? Other technical reasons. I think that's otherwise cloud as a conversation, I think, is okay. I just wanted to add one more point, and it's also a bit of a plug for Danaher in that sense, because we have seen we actually in our company, to answer this question of what is the value from an investment, right? We have an internal mechanism that we have learned or we are using called the strategy deployment process. It's actually the Danaher Business Systems is based on the SDP model. So it's actually a good learning for the folks in the company, where how the strategic objectives and the business KPIs that you are driving are eventually connected to the initiatives that you are driving, either in digital or in any other strategic priority. And that is actually a management system intervention as well. So not all of the value will come only because of a technology investment, but it is also coming in primarily because you are looking at how the work itself is getting done, how it is connected to your strategic imperatives that you're driving, and the competitive advantage that you're driving. Once that matures, then some of these conversations will go away. And this is, like I said, applicable only in your journey on phase 2 and 3. If you're looking for productivity or looking for competitive advantage, the combination of talent as well as the strategy deployment processes come very, very, together as a package before you can actually ask for what is the value from technology. So you can't separate it out anymore.
Absolutely.
And that also makes it easier for you to seek investments and get approvals, because it's seen as one investment together.
It's
So
changed.
I don't have an IT budget
Right.
separated out. I have a business budget, and I hold just that part of it. Allows me to spend whenever I want to,
Sure.
and question my business to say, no, I don't think we should spend on this as well.
Sure.
And that is a bit of a org maturity
Sure.
that delivers value. So I just wanted to make.
Oh, absolutely. So coming back to the cloud, adoption, we still see, data frauds and, hackers breaking into emails and, really making it very difficult for companies to operate. Even the biggest companies have actually suffered. How do you ensure that security? It's a challenge, right?
Yeah, that's a great question. Data security, the security of your data is always a very big topic that we always discuss with the IT department of all the various pharma and biopharma companies. So right now we do offer our solutions on the cloud as well, and we do have companies that are very successful in using our software on the cloud in both India and even in places like China itself, which is in my opinion quite stringent tool. So in terms of security wise, what Gene Data we provide, I mean in more maybe a little bit more technical term, is that we provide single tenant solutions so that we don't share so the customers' instances do not get shared with other customers. Single tenant solution, and of course also other things like your what would the whitelisting of the IP addresses and also the regular audits and so on. In fact, we have been quite a few years already. We do conduct a regular external audits of our security processes. So we are SOC 2 compliant in that sense, and that actually gives customers a lot of confidence. And beyond that, we also, for our cloud, we also work with reputable cloud providers like AWS, and also that actually help us being able to deploy globally as well. And this is actually very useful for big companies that has got a global footprint.
Super. So I think, a couple of questions. Yeah, sure. So we have one hand raised.
Hello all. So this is Deepak Sharma, Head QA, Cell and Gene Therapy, Loras Labs. So one generic questions, like what are the challenges you are facing to maintain the 21 CFR compliance? Because we know we all go for the digital solution just to maintain the 21 CFR compliance. So what are the challenges? And there are certain startups, those as you discussed, they are thinking to go for the digital solutions. So what are the initial challenges to maintain those things?
So yeah, maybe I can. So one is obviously the 21 CFR is a generic guideline that you have in terms of, again, depending on the size of the organization and what you want to do. We have a team which is primarily focused on computer systems validation and 21 CFR. Most of the service providers now, most of the tech solution providers already give you the right amount of documentation that you need to be compliant anyway, right? Most of the time, like the point that was being made on security, on SOC 1 Type 2, and other elements that come with ITGC and other things, it's taken care of. I think the more important part is, can we, in the face of an audit or when somebody is asking you, how compliant are you? I think the bigger question and the challenge is our own internal employee awareness on what does this really mean? What is the spirit of CFR, right? I mean, from the original Alcoa principles and so on, to a place where the systems automatically take care of at least a few of them already, right? Legibility is no longer a question, right? And we still have these things when things were written on paper. So I think our internal understanding of what that is, and if we are able to articulate it reasonably enough to the auditors, and we have a process in place that actually takes care of process, people from an accountability as well as culture perspective, and then the governance associated with it. So once these three come together, I think the CFR compliance is is not as complicated as it is made out to be as well. Most of it spreads from check in the box kind of thinking, but it's at least I think the journey is reasonably good for many companies now.
And also from a code, for example, any AI generated code versus human code, everything, if it is tagged and you say this portion is actually AI generated, and it's possible to do that tagging. It's very simple labeling, and this has been touched by the human after AI is generated. At least you'll have enough documentation before we get into some of these audits, so that you at least know what came out of AI and what came out of the people.
Right. Any other questions? I think, wow, there is a real lot of enthusiasm. I'm so happy. So the last panel is really going good. We'll break for dinner after this for sure. Yeah. Quick, sir.
Yeah. The adoption of AI is still at the premature stage to the industries. Do you agree with that one?
In our industry, using pharma is to be specific. Yeah.
Excuse
in
me.
India, maybe.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Even in India, or else even at the foreign also. What is your
CP, you want to take that? The adoption of AI in India is slower, or is it the same trend that you see across in pharma?
Not really. In pharma, perhaps. Yeah, I think this is not. This is nothing to do with whether India is slow or anything. I think it's just the characteristics of the market itself. Because like what in the earlier talks, India has tradition. Well, India is the pharmacy of the world, right? You guys have been producing a lot of the generics, a lot of the drugs that's available, that supplies to the rest of the world. And R&D perhaps not so much as compared to scale. Of course, right now there's much more. So I think India right now is in a good position whereby India is ready to lead the stage in terms of the R&D development, in terms of drugs and both small and large molecules, I would say.
My question is not that one. India is adopting slow, or other countries are adopting fast. But my question is that still to adopt the AI in different phases of the process development or a product development, I think it is still premature stage. That's what I mean to say, that one. What is your comment on that one? I just wanted to know.
I think it is premature. I mean, we don't have to. I mean, depending on, again, I think we are not one country. We are not one. India is many Indias inside. So I think there are different Indias moving at different paces.
And I can talk across outside of
Life
biopharma also.
sciences,
It's the same thing. It's a lot of POCs. Everybody wants to try put their hands in, and then the questioning. Did I make the right thing? And another problem also, understand that the technology is changing so fast. So the question is, if I go and invest in this model or this hardware, and especially hardware, I'm talking about GPUs. I mean, tomorrow something else comes out and then you're like outdated. So it's that all the time you're in a POC mode, and right now that is the kind of thing that's kind of doing the catch up. But hopefully within a year or two, I'm hoping that dust will settle and reality will kick in.
So
one comment I wanted to make, definitely it's in a premature stage, which I feel. Why? Because the output which comes currently is, pharma being a very compliant area, right? So in the formulation development, suppose you take the output which is coming, it has so many nuances, the precision is not there. So where you can use it is very, very critical. So fastening some of your research activities, that is definitely. But can you generate a data using AI something, and it would be ready for submission to agencies? Definitely not. So it will take some, see, currently the review mechanism on the AI generated data is very, very critical. And once you try to find out mistake in a big thing, then you also will end up spending that much amount of time only to finding mistakes, reviewing that. So I think, in the current stage and evolution of the AI ML technology, we are still yet to go there. Maybe after some years or some months, we might not be, we will be in a better stage. But currently, definitely in a very, very premature stage we are. That's what I feel.
So, NVIDIA had a 4 trillion market cap. I think if that is an indication of where AI and ML is heading, and also Lilly did a deal with NVIDIA to unleash the power of supercomputing. So,
Kex. Capability.
That's the capability. Exactly. So that's the name of the game. So thank you so much. I think this is a great end to the. You have one more. Probably we can take. Okay, ma'am. One quick one. Yeah.
Hello, I'm Bhanu. I'm heading quality I'm from Sandoz. I have a question on the transformation, digital transformation and automation. While we know pharma is in a regulated company, regulated areas, and this is very important for us. And we have come long way in terms of compliance in using these technologies and all. While we have more of IT people than a pharmacist or a scientist in a pharma, I have a question on the flip side of it in terms of how are people impacted. While we know in the current scenario, I think many people are impacted because of automation, digitalization, and all those. While we see there is a value creation in this, but how do we see this as a part of people per se, how it's being impacted, and what is your takeaway on this being a IT heads?
I might start, maybe Phani can add. So this is one perception what we see now, maybe early 2000s or late 90s, there was when the systems were coming in. There was a perception that, okay, IT systems are coming, no, all of us will lose the jobs and all. In fact, it worked the other way around. I think it's going the same way. We will be looking at a different set of, let's say the work or whatever it is, but not the earlier ones, whatever we used to do. But definitely, yes, this is what we face as a IT heads, change management, right? Making the person understand, like, why am I implementing this system? It's not to take the work what he is doing, but give him the aid of what he is doing in a better way, he or she, whatever it is, to do it in a better way. I think that's what has been change, what has worked out. Maybe
Value addition.
Right. Yeah. Fine.
No, I think it's a very sensitive question, and I think the very important question as well. There is this one story of how when the word processors came, when Microsoft Word came, people said typists will lose their jobs. It just happened that all of us became typists. We can proofread it. We can actually become that. What's better than everyone becoming a quality person in a company? Why should quality be one department? I'm just taking quality for an example. The best way to run quality is that everybody knows what it is. The biggest challenge and the biggest power of democratization that comes with AI is a lot of this tacit knowledge that used to be only with a certain set of people, but all of us should have. I use ChatGPT and Perplexity to understand what's happening in my R&D team when they say something that I don't understand, right? So it unleashes this entire power where a lot of your work will be done by a lot more people. And when it becomes democratic, the volume of work actually increases. We'll have better quality. We'll have more people doing quality, not the other way around. So I think when the cost of doing something goes down, actually the demand goes up. You would see, and this happened with radiologists. I think you can go read about everything that AI had done. People actually said radiologists would lose their job. One of my very favorite authors, Eric Topol, had written in this book called Deep Medicine. He said, radiologists will disappear.
Yeah.
Actually, the radiologists, the number of radiologists went up in the US.
That was the UK study.
When the AI actually analyzes the X-rays and all the radiology reports right now, I think there is a little bit of that change pattern that we are going through. It is absolutely natural for all of us, and that is actually the biggest question that I get asked. So that's why I'm responding so passionately. Because and I really wanted to clarify in some of these cases that it is absolutely human to feel threatened a lot of my own coding teams got threatened, because GitHub Copilot writes most of the code. So what is that person doing? So I think it's very natural as humans, and to not actually acknowledge that feeling is unfair. So I absolutely acknowledge that, but it's also a lot of responsibility on people like us and people like you to tell each other and say that, okay, how do we run this better as a company? How do we run this better as a team together? I think that's where we are headed now.
Great question, great
So,
response.
thank you,
I think that's the best way to end